Eli Manning is cooked. I've said that since early in the season. I didn't realize it last year when I thought he quit on the team early last year, and I brought it up on this show. It looked to me like he was saying, I'm not going to get killed for this team. But I understood that, because who would get killed for that team last year?
Yeah.
Where you're getting killed behind that offensive line. And the coaching and everything is backward, right? Okay. So I thought, no, Eli's not done. Get him the running back. Saquon Barkley, best player in the draft. Fix the line. Eli's going to be all right. Got those weapons, Odell Beckham and Evan Ingram and Shepard and all these guys. I said that Tom Brady would fall off the cliff, and in fact, it was my guy, Eli Manning, who fell off the cliff. Not as far to fall for Eli. Nevertheless, he is not an NFL quarterback, certainly not a starting quarterback. There are at least 32 other quarterbacks in the league better than him. Guys, every rule favors the passer. Look at the old quarterbacks who are succeeding right now. Forget about Tom Brady and Drew Brees. In his draft class, Phillip Rivers is an MVP candidate. Roethlisberger's not what he was, but he's still good. Eli stinks. Okay, what do the Giants do about that? I told you the other day. First thing you do, like today, sign Colin Kaepernick. Because I watched Loletta in the preseason. He's not ready. He's not ready. He might be okay. He's like a poor man's Chad Pennington.
What is signing Colin Kaepernick going to do right now?
First thing it will do is bring in an NFL caliber starter a couple years ago, maybe a bubble starter, but still a starter who's dynamic, who can run. You know, the Giants try to run the RPOs with Eli Manning. It's a joke because he can't run. Your second option in the run game has to be the quarterback if you're going to run RPOs effectively. How can you do that with Kaepernick and Barkley and Odell? Different story. That's the first thing you do. Will Kaepernick be ready to start right away? Of course not. But by late in this season, he will be. And now you have a guy who can bridge you next year for when, in this upcoming draft, if the Giants continue like this, they will be picking number 1 overall. They pick Justin Herbert, who is a major talented quarterback. I was told by everyone who knows there's no great quarterback prospects in this draft. I think Justin Herbert is excellent. You draft him number 1. You draft an offensive tackle in the second round. You draft a guard in the third round. And the Giants will be all right in 1 year. Sign Kaepernick, lose the rest of the way, draft Herbert, draft a tackle, draft a guard. That's the plan.
First of all, I think you're being entirely too emotional. I can understand it. I mean, when you wake up and realize how pathetic and awful your team is, it totally makes sense. So I get where you're coming from. But in the end, first thing that the Giants need to do is look in the mirror as an organization. Stop looking at the players. Let's get out of the business of blaming Odell Beckham Jr. for everything, which is what the Giants organization are trying to do. Tacitly, I might add, in terms of what they direct the media towards. Like, for example, Pat Shermer commenting after yesterday's game, Odell Beckham Jr. headbutting the cooler. So what?
Stephen A., how can you say that? They just paid him all that money.
I'm getting ready to say why. Because that is not the issue. That is a symptom of the problem. Because you have to understand that Odell Beckham Jr. is butting his head against the fan because they're getting annihilated. They're getting their butts beat on national television.
You're saying they're blaming Odell as the problem, Stephen A., and that the media and the team, they're blaming Odell as the problem. They just paid Odell. Clearly, they don't think he's the problem. They just rewarded him.
I'm talking about all the media coverage that we've been talking about and all the things that the Giants have been saying over the last week. You've been here just like we have, reading the reports. Everybody's talking about the behavior of Odell Beckham Jr. Am I making that up?
No, he's the one who was in the interview, though. He's the one who sat down and blamed the quarterback and aired the dirty laundry.
But what I'm saying to you is that they got bigger problems.
Okay.
I'm not saying that he should be absolved from his behavior.
He's not.
I'm saying they have bigger
problems. You're acting like they're just blaming him out of nowhere. He did an interview.
Well, I'm not acting like anything because I'm getting ready to make my point, which is the Giants have a bigger problem than Odell. That's my point. This organization, from top to bottom, has been an absolute mess. When you think about the decisions that they've made, I don't know if Gettleman is going to stay. We all know that the health challenges that he's had, I don't know if he's going to stick around. Pat Shermer looks like an offensive coordinator instead of a head coach, ill-equipped to handle this. You look at the offensive line issues. Eric Flowers is gone, but Wheeler isn't much better. You look at the rest of the offensive line. Some would say worse, okay? So you got that as a problem. Odell Beckham Jr., everybody wanted to point to the headlines and some of the things that he brought on himself, fine. But in the end, what it comes down to is Eli Manning is shot. He's punch drunk. He doesn't have it anymore. And not only does he not have it anymore, he doesn't look like he wants it anymore. So the combination of all those different things are the kind of stuff that you look at the organization from the top down and you say, my God, the ownership has to do something about this because you can't stand pat. The way this organization looks right now, you don't even have a backup quarterback. Who doesn't have a backup quarterback in the NFL? You know what you need to do, Max? More so than get Colin Kaepernick? How about make a trade for Teddy Bridgewater? Get him away from New Orleans. How about doing that? How about RG3, who's in a practice squad? Because let me tell you something. RG3 came on, and we can sit up there and we can sniff at that, but here's the reality. RG3 came right on this show, Lewis, right on this show. And he said, everybody talking about Colin Kaepernick. What about me? Let's look at what he's done compared to what I've done. Now, Colin Kaepernick went to a Super Bowl. Colin Kaepernick was in an NFC Championship game. We get all that. But Colin Kaepernick is also the guy that hasn't played in a few years. Now, to some degree, you could say the same thing about RG3. I guess what I'm saying is there are other options other than Colin Kaepernick that the New York Giants should be entertained. But I don't disagree with you from the standpoint they got to do something, because this right now, all of this noise about Odell Beckham Jr., I'm looking at them last night and I'm like, I don't give a damn about him right now. Yeah. He ain't the problem.
No, he's not.
He's a headache, but he ain't the problem.